Okay, it's 5 o'clock. I'm going to call this meeting of the Littleton Housing Authority Board to order. First order, all the entire board is here. We have a quorum of 5 members, all of us. First thing is to.
You mean to also talk about the Groton board?
Well-
We can't call a meeting to order.
No,
Okay.
okay,
We should, I just want to mention that this was intended to be a joint meeting.
Yeah.
As soon as you have a quorum, you can begin your meeting.
Thank you.
Hey there.
Hello.
all right.
Okay, now we have.
Okay, great.
As noted, some people from the Groton Housing Authority Board are here too. First order of the Littleton Board meeting is to look at and approve the meeting, the minutes from the meeting we had on December 17th. Also a joint meeting.
So okay, but this, just share mine or, okay, great, thank you.
Does anybody have any comment on the minutes of the December 14th meeting, 17th?
Only if we want to list the names of the Groton board members present, which isn't, it's not in the minutes. It just says Board of Commissioners.
Yeah.
I mean, was your entire board there for that meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Via phone, via Zoom.
Yeah, right, I understand, but all of them were there.
All of us were there.
So maybe we just want to amend it to include the
Amend that to
names.
include the names of the
Okay.
Groton board, okay.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments?
Any comment on the Groton Housing Authority size? I think we're all set for the minutes. Any comments?
Are we, I,
Oh, copy of it, pass it on. Pass it on, thank you. Actually, I think I've got 4 copies here.
You can look at it, I don't know if you have to approve it, because it doesn't cover your.
You're, yeah.
It's our meeting.
Oh, I
So we'll
see.
make a motion that we accept the meeting minutes as amended.
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote, all in favor? Favor.
Matthews, yes?
Portland is yes. Ben? Gino?
Gino. Yes.
Yes, okay, motion unanimously passed. Okay, discussion and approval of interim executive director hourly pay rates. There is a draft contract that I believe has been distributed to us that.
I don't see it in the
Um,
packet.
There's. I have it in here somewhere. Contract for interim executive director. Which is mostly boilerplate from EOHLC. It's dated January 6th, which is today, which is not a possible day for Lisa to start work, so that needs to be changed. Today is the 7th.
Yeah.
And, actually, I believe that the contract has to go to EOHLC down in Boston to be approved by them before Lisa can start work. So that we put it off at least a week. I don't know how much more. There's an hourly pay rate of $40 an hour. And the Littleton contract specifies a minimum of 24 hours per week and a maximum of 28 hours per week of employment for the interim director.
Does that include for all boards?
No, just the Littleton board. The Groton board has a separate contract, which I believe says 16 hours, so it adds up to 40.
Okay.
But we are talking about the 24 up to 28 hours at $40 an hour.
And the Groton pay rate is the
It's the
same.
same. That was what was suggested.
And that's what, so far, that's what we're going with. We don't have to vote on this also separately from you guys. You have to vote on yours and I vote on ours.
So
How seats open? Yeah.
all right. Yep.
so if the Littleton's allotted hours is between 24 and 28, does that mean if Lisa works 28 down here, Groton only gets 12 hours of
No.
her.
Groton gets minimum 16, the 4 on either side would be overtime, or in addition to the 40.
Just want to be clear.
Yeah.
Great.
So. I do not have a question about the pay rate. Does anybody want to comment on that?
On the pay raise,
Yeah, $40.
No,
Okay. So. Can we just approve that?
well, I mean, should we have Mr. Griffin here to discuss,
Yes.
the possibility of continuing the management agreement, so,
Right.
or some of the implications of hiring an executive director.
Mr. Griffin, you're the accountant for, I believe, both boards, and you are, I'm willing to answer questions from the boards about the financial implications of any decisions that we make.
So be happy to help the boards in any way they'd like. Correct.
Can you opine on the $40 per hour pay rate?
I have no comment on the $40 per hour. That's probably, I believe I sent over the executive director, DHCD or HLC approved executive director salary schedules, which when added together, that's probably the hourly rate. Close to.
Okay. All right, so it's a, then.
Then yeah, in that sense, the hourly rate is reasonable considering the HLC approved budget salary. Yes.
Okay. All right, so this contract at this point can't be signed until we have dates. But we can approve hourly rate.
Oh, I see. Okay,
So we can do that. Right, the way I understand.
so there's no,
the
there's no,
We can't send it into EOHLC if you don't sign it and prove it.
Okay,
Excuse me, John Sopkin from Groton. I assume, but I haven't done this before either, so I'm not telling you this is authoritative, but the board needs to draft a contract, sign it, have the interim director sign it,
Yeah.
and submit the materials required to EOHLC. They'll tell you
yeah,
whether or not they accept it. I think it makes sense that you might not want to start today or yesterday because you don't know whether it's going to be accepted, but you fill in the date when you want to start and they'll tell you whether or not they accept it. Is my opinion.
right,
So
That would be also my opinion.
the opinion of the
Okay.
accountant.
That the date at which you date the contract should be the date at which the interim executive director would start their first day.
Mm.
That date should be sometime subsequent to the date tonight, tomorrow, because it will take some time
right,
to get through HLC. Whether it's a week, 10 days, 15 days, that's up to the board. But in essence, you should send them a document that states effective January 15th,
right.
this will be our new interim executive director unless you have an issue. Send them the signed document and let them then get back to you.
so do you think that 7 to 8 days is a reasonable guess at how long it might take to approve this? Because I've no, or Lisa, do you know? Because I've, obviously never done this before.
Well, they're usually slow, but in this case, they've been, pushing both housing authorities to get this done, so I would imagine that, Tommy's back from his vacation, so I imagine that if this will go to him, and then he'll push it along right away.
Okay.
I think the message I got from Lisa also was that 13th was a possible,
Okay.
sounded like a perfectly good starting date, as far as I could tell, based on what you've just said.
If they don't have it approved, then I can't start.
Right.
But,
Right,
They get to decide,
have
they
to
decide.
wait Until,
And in essence, I was just gonna say the same thing.
Okay.
Or-
Pick a date like the 13th, which has been suggested, to give Lisa enough time to get things organized and ready to be rolling on the 1st. If you pick the 1st, you're jumping off a cliff with nothing really prepared, at least by Lisa, unless you got some other plan.
okay,
If you pick the 13th and they say, then you tell them, well, what are we supposed to do in the meantime? Get them involved in the discussion.
Okay.
So you gotta.
Okay,
What if we put tomorrow's date on it and maybe it'll hurry them up?
You won't get to them before tomorrow. I mean, they won't open their mail till tomorrow.
Yeah,
We can email.
the 8th is too early.
Well, the 13th is 13th next Monday.
Yeah,
Let's do that.
Yeah,
That seems like a reasonable time.
thank you.
I
Okay.
mean, if it's not approved, I'll still come in. And I'll just have to work until they approve it.
Okay.
and
right.
get paid.
Okay.
We'll pass the hat.
all right, before we proceed any further, I would like to ask the board, my board, I have sent a number of emails detailing or reporting on my conversations with other people that are involved in this situation. And I would like to hear from my board members what they thought about, or what they do think about my, I guess they're memos, reporting conversations in which I heard quite a lot of negative information about Lisa. And I have real questions about the wisdom of appointing her again. So I want that discussion before we sign any papers. Yes.
Oh. A lot of that paperwork that came from the state that you sent through, they said flat out, they didn't think we should have an interim, that we couldn't afford an interim and we shouldn't have one. How much do we have to listen to them? I mean, they're the bosses technically.
Well, we need to do something.
Yeah,
We do need an interim because we can't function without somebody in charge. One of the possibilities is that we could continue our management agreement with Westford. And then their interim director, Ken, would be in charge of this thing, and we'd continue as normal. There would be no disruption in the maintenance workforce. There would be no time, I mean, with no more time without a director. And it would, having Ken running this authority would make it easier for him to find, his job is to find a new executive director for Westford. Having Littleton as part of his domain would make it a lot easier for him to find a qualified and capable and experienced executive director going forward. And if Broughton were to join Littleton in working with Westford, that would make it even easier to find a qualified, capable, responsible, experienced director.
I feel, I'm totally sorry to interrupt. I feel that we already have a very nice individual. Why implying something else? That she's been doing it for 30 years.
She's been doing it for 30
Okay,
years.
I
She's
think,
done an excellent
I
job.
think I'd like to make a motion to accept.
Hang on,
No,
I'm-
no, I'm not finished debating. I'm not going to accept the motion.
All right,
Lisa has done a great job. She has run this authority capably for most of her tenure. I would say in the last year or so, there have been omissions and errors and issues in the record keeping and in the procedures that that are her in her job description. So I think that going forward, there's no guarantee that the problems that have been created under her watch are going to get fixed when when she resumes that position. So I've written that out to my board and I would like some feedback on that.
So I attended the special scope review with the state in Westford a couple weeks ago. And, you know, I think, and we all got a letter from the state with some of the findings of that.
Right.
And it was, you know, there's clearly there have been some omissions and some problems with no budgets being submitted, some vouchers not being submitted. I think, there's real tangible evidence that things are not going completely smoothly here. And, I think that at a minimum, you know, I think Ken and EOHLC need some time to look through the records, which they're doing now in order to figure out, you know, exactly where we're at. And I don't want to cast aspersions on Lisa. You know, I've been on this board for 7 years now. I, you know, had a great deal of respect for the way she ran this. I think she did the best that she could with a very frustrating and difficult situation with, you know, few resources. But there are some real questions in my mind about where things are right now. And it makes me a little uneasy. So I would at a minimum want to wait and not confirm this as an interim director now, if we have the option of hearing more from Westford about what's going on and really finding out like what happened to get us here.
Well, I've been here for over 30 years before she even come. Okay, I was appointed by several different governors. So I say we are very lucky to have her. So I don't know why you're trying to prolong. Why don't we just let it write something down for the 13th of January? Okay,
I agree with Matt that I think we should wait and find out more, because there's
How
a
many-
lot of unknowns.
how many weeks would you like to wait? Do you think they're gonna find somebody else better than her? I say the state, well, only I have to do is make a phone call. Okay, I'm sorry to say that.
What do you mean?
Mean that I know this lady for over 30 years and she's doing a good job for this place. I'm telling you that before she was here, we had other people and they were not worth 1 cent. Okay,
Well, I disagree with that. I was on this board also before Lisa came on, and I have to say, Lisa has run this very well for almost all of the last, I don't know, 20 years or something like
she
that.
went through a lot,
But I think there are real questions and there are real omissions in the work, and I think we need to find out more about that. That may not be Lisa's fault. We may find that I don't know what we're gonna find, but I do think that we should wait and not hastily make a decision without more information.
And you can't, I mean, Gino, you can't deny that there's a lot of confusion about what's going on. We get a story from Lisa about what happened with Westford, and we get another story from Westford and from the EOHLC about the documentation that's missing. You can't deny that there is some disparity between those two things. There's a mismatch and some things aren't getting done.
The question is, somebody in Westford don't like her because
So
she's doing a good job.
you don't
That's what
know
I'm trying to
that?
tell you.
You don't know that and I don't know.
You know me and I know you,
Mhm.
and I will not lie to you, and I will not lie to you. The question is, she went through, okay? She only has another 3 years to work, and then she can and then we're gonna have a very, very hard to find somebody that equalize her job. And we have to say a prayer from God to get somebody like her again.
I could be wrong. I want to
Okay,
hear from Jeannie and Ben.
I agree with Bartlett and Matt. I've been very pleased working with you. It's been a good experience. I have heard negative comments about the management from various tenants, and that concerns me. But the biggest red flag for me was the state saying, we never filed a budget for this year. And if the budget isn't filed, we won't be eligible for $500,000 of grants, which we sure could use. And that, I think, is what bothers me the most. And then, of course, there's another budget year coming up too.
Right.
So who is this Ken?
Ken is the, I believe he works for Air,
Oh, okay.
and he was hired as a temporary
Got
replacement for
Okay.
Westford.
Okay,
I don't know his background. I think he's
Retired.
retired from other jobs and he fills in to,
I see.
for,
Okay.
Excuse
Authorities
me,
that are in
the
trouble.
board, he's HLC's fixer.
He's a fixer.
well, okay.
That's the way,
Yeah.
that's not my terms, that's their terms. When there's problems at a housing authority or things that have to be fixed or someone's removed or something of this same thing that happened in Westford.
Yeah.
They have a short list of people they call depending on the area or when the housing authority is at,
Mhm.
and they make that phone call and find out whether or not that person can step in, whether it's a couple of days, whether it's a couple of weeks, or whether it's a couple of months.
Right.
So he's up here, he was probably the first phone call they made, he said he could do it, and so he stepped in.
Thank you.
That's how Ken got into it.
Thank you, James.
You're welcome.
I'm wondering, Ben, do you have any input on this?
No,
Okay. Is there any financial implication as far as hiring or not hiring Lisa as an interim?
There's no financial implications. Whether you hire Lisa at the current rate that the contract states or some other rate, or you maintain the contract with Westford, they basically wash on your budget in the sense they're basically the same amount of dollar value.
Okay.
So there's no gain or loss depending on which way you go. So I don't think it's a financial situation question in terms of, if we don't hire Lisa, it's $20,000 savings, we should go that way. I don't think that's something for the board to make a decision based on the cost savings or cost over. There's no difference either way.
Thank
So
you.
I would take that out of your decision making.
Thank you.
I would base your decision making on other items of concern beside that.
So I guess the next thing I would ask is, what criteria, what are we waiting for? What are we waiting to learn? As Gino said, like, how long do we want to wait? Like, I understand postponing may be a good idea. At what point do we decide yes or no? And what are we waiting for in order to make that decision? I mean, like,
Is the state still planning on visiting?
yes.
Yes.
And I believe that Ken and the financial analysts are still trying to figure out where Littleton is at financially. Because I think the records, they don't have complete records, or they don't know where those records are. Yes.
Comment from the unknown and not totally informed, but the housing authority member is, I would think, and certainly for me, one of the critical questions is, what is going to happen if you don't have a director on February 1st? You need an authoritative answer to that question from the state, I assume, unless Mr. Wilson has some understanding that he can share with us. And that would drive my decision with respect to our.
So I believe you've spoken to both Westford and EOHLC about that.
Yes. I haven't spoken about starting dates, but
Now, the question is,
Yeah.
what if you don't have a director
Well-
on February 1st? Who's gonna run your
Well-
facilities, and what's the state gonna do? Are they gonna send in their own fixer and you make just whatever you wanna do, get out of the way? I don't know.
well, we're gonna make a decision before February 1st.
Good.
We're talking about January 13th for this contract. I think that it would be a matter of, if we decide to go with Westford, Ken could mobilize some assistant fixers and have them in place, I don't know, within a week or
I don't
something like
know.
that. But I think we're gonna make a decision very quickly.
Talk to your board. I'm just asking.
Yeah, no, so we have considered having Westford
Mhm.
essentially reinstate the management agreement. And E EOHLC, I believe in principle.
They were, when I talked to Tommy this afternoon, he was very in favor of that.
Okay,
So I don't understand why you would want to go back with Westford when they have said it in public meetings that they were going to getting rid of us. They were going to get rid of Littleton and Groton.
so I don't know, I haven't heard that from them directly, but when I spoke to Nancy and I spoke to Tommy and Ken, they seemed very amenable to continuing the agreement with us as far as maintenance and management and basically sharing the cost of an executive director and, you know, stating that it would be much easier, I believe you said it would be much easier for the three of us, three housing authorities to hire an executive director because there would be a bigger budget and more units. Littleton might be able to offer 60 grand a year. The combined three of them might be able to offer 120 and to go back to the structure that we had before. But I have not personally heard like from Westford negative comments about their interactions with this housing authority.
They're in the minutes.
From which meeting though?
I could.
Like, no, I mean, from the meeting
No.
of them, of their board?
Their board.
All right, so I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know. When I talked to Nancy Cook, she said that she would be very happy to continue the management degree. She also said that she had spoken to Ken about it. I talked to Ken this morning and he said we have not had that conversation. So, you know, there's some fudge in there somewhere.
And so you're collecting a list of questions that you'd like to have answered before you make the decision. I mean, the question is, how long do we wait?
Mhm.
It sounds like my answer or my suggestion is your answer might be, we wait until we know. Has Westford actually said they want to get rid of Littleton? If it's in the minutes, it can be answered, but it can't be answered here tonight.
It was said a few times from when I think I just
But
started in
you
February.
got input that it
It
happened.
was said
I
a
mean,
few
let's not
times.
debate it.
Well, actually,
I'm
wanna-
just saying, make a list of your questions.
I want to
It was
read
said a few
those.
times,
Yeah, sure.
meetings
Okay,
leading up to
excuse me.
this.
So can you tell me the dates of those? Because I want to go read those minutes.
So I just started, when I started going to meetings in February. I think it was around February.
February of last
No,
year?
so between February and now, there should be in the meeting minutes.
Okay,
But
Yeah.
you can
Of
do
Westford.
that
Yeah.
investigation offline. You
Yeah.
have to
Oh, yeah.
decide
Right.
tonight.
Yeah, no, I'm not
Are we
gonna-
signing a document tonight or are we waiting? And that's the question on the floor, I
Right.
think.
It is. I mean, I would.
And so the question is, the subsequent question that's come up in the discussion is, how long do we wait? What are your criteria? But make a list. Don't answer the questions, just decide how long are we gonna wait?
It's gotta be before the February, so I think we gotta,
That was one of
if
my-
you don't like the 13, put a 17. And then when they get in Boston, they probably push a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, they,
You know what I'm saying?
EOLHC does want this to continue and they want fast action. They want to get this crisis solved and over with and done. Which I think we all do.
Yes, yes, we do.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good
But I
idea.
do think that waiting a couple of days to have another conversation with Westford and have maybe ask them to put it in writing, whatever they want to do. You know,
And
that
then you
would
send a
inform our
letter.
Decision.
Then you make the decision.
yeah, that is.
Then you
what I was-
gotta talk to us too.
Yeah, but that is what I was trying to get at. I think that is the question that we need answered.
Second one.
And I think we should schedule another meeting of this board for next week. After we have more information about
Right.
what specifically is going on.
Let's see what happens. They
with
might change their
with
mind.
Westford and us, because clearly there's multiple stories here. And it's been the problem from the beginning, is I hear two different things from two different people, and I have no way of knowing.
But in the meantime, we need somebody here. The question is, she can stay here, well, and then if whatever happened, we adjust it. But I'm telling you, don't let that thing go because Westford don't like us. Very simple. You might hear some story. The question is this here, we have many people that we are responsible.
Right, and
Okay.
our duty as
We-
board members is to what
We-
is best for the residents
That's,
here.
that's it. We have to do the best for the, you're correct. But the question is, she can be here at the moment, and then when you send it to the, you don't like the 13, put another 15 or 17, whatever. Boston's gonna say, okay, we don't wanna leave Littleton away. Because Westford don't give a damn about us.
I'm not sure that that's true.
Okay, that is not true. I tell you that is true. The poor lady there, she works there, and she likes to work here too. And they're very a good payer. You can't find another double individual. So if somebody told you that oh, she's not good, she does and that, it's full of shit. I'm sorry to say that word. May God forgive me. We gotta do this quickly.
We do.
But we want to do it right.
We doing it right.
We have to talk about it.
I think we need more information before we make a decision.
Well, he gets some more information. In the meantime, send a letter.
If we sign this and send it, then that's a contract that is in force and we can't change it.
It is a contract at will. There are provisions, I mean,
Right.
I can't comment on your contract. I've seen our contract. The contract is a contract at will. There are, I think you can, and perhaps you can read us out of our contract. What are the conditions under which the contract can be terminated by the housing authority? They're pretty flexible and you know, both parties are at some risk that the other party will just say, I'm out of here, I'm done.
Life is like.
Just as a quick point, the EOLC said each housing authority has to hire their own interim director. So whatever decision your board makes, it applies to you. We have our own decision to make, and it's gonna be separate. You know, we have to operate independently according to UHLC. Right. You guys have to come up with your understanding.
At the
what you
same time,
decide.
we have the same kind of questions.
Well, we have some of the same.
Yeah.
We have some of the
Right,
same.
and I
questions. We
believe you have
different.
copies of my
Yeah.
memos also.
Thank you.
So can I just mention
Yes.
one thing?
Yes.
If you wanna go with Westford, that is fine. You have to do, like you said, you have to do what's best for this housing authority. But if that contract, if we can't have a definite date on that contract, I'm not willing to serve as interim director if you decide, you know, in 2 weeks that, oh yeah, we'd rather go with an interim director than with Westford. Because that sets me up to fail right from the very beginning, because I have no help, I have no administrative help, and I have no maintenance help.
On the-
So that means I have to go out, I have to be working in the office alone, trying to find maintenance and administrative staff. How am I gonna do that? I'm not a maintenance person. You know, and I can't do all of the administrative work by myself either. So I just need you to understand that I appreciate that you're trying to do your best for the Littleton Housing Authority, and you need to do that. I'm not asking you to do something that you don't feel comfortable with because you like me, but I also have to be able to know that if I came back, if you decided to go with the interim director, and I didn't have a couple of weeks before your contract ends with Westford to find proper help to keep this housing authority going, then I can't take that job. Because
makes
that
sense.
sets me up
Yeah,
to
right,
fail from the very
No,
beginning.
I understand. I respect that.
How
That makes
about that?
complete sense.
That's
So
good.
that, you know,
We'll take it.
in the end, it might be best for you to stay with, to go with Westford. But I know, I was at the meetings. I went, you know, every single meeting, we're gonna get rid of Littleton and Groton. We're gonna get rid of Littleton and Groton.
Jeez,
And it got worse and worse, starting April of this year. It
unbelievable.
got worse.
April of last year.
Yeah, last year,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, yeah,
24.
we're in 25 already,
Okay.
and it got worse. And that board chair committed a felony against me. And it's been reported to the police. So personally, and I don't take anything that she says as truth, because she's a liar. Flat out, she's a liar.
Let's not get into impugning other people, however
I'm just
accurate it is,
saying.
I'm not.
I'm just trying to.
We'd rather
get
not
that-
have that on the record of the Groton Housing Authority.
I don't care.
I understand, but I'm asking you, please, as a member of the
Well,
Housing,
All right,
to not
I'll shut
enter
up.
those, that kind of statement, that we're happy to have your opinion. But opinions about people's personality and trustworthiness might be better.
We gotta be diplomatic.
It's not, it's not no.
We gotta be diplomatic. I understand what you're saying.
Well, we had a recording going. Question what's being said. Thank you.
So we're signing an interim contract with, if we did sign with Westford, Groton, and Littleton, would that lock us into having a permanent director under that same?
No,
Because
No,
there's been
it
some
was-
questions about the fairness of the
it's
consortium.
Ken is an interim there.
Okay.
And if we sign up, it would just be expanding his area of influence but he would still be an interim and he would have the same at-will contract that anybody would have.
And legally,
And legally,
we're required
it's
to
a-
search for a new executive.
it's a
director.
3-month
Yeah.
contract. And it can be extended some, but it's interim and it's designed to be a
bridge.
a stage bridge between two directors. So we need to make a decision rapidly and
Shall we pursue some of the information that we need and meet next week to determine whether or not we want to sign an interim contract beginning on the 15th or the 20th, or, you know,
a week after,
um,
or,
but maybe that's even
I mean, we
too
could. I think at that point, we could talk HLC into
fast tracking.
fast tracking it and, you know, having somebody start, you know, right away before,
Okay.
you know, so I think, I mean, they want this situation off their desks,
We do too.
yes.
Well,
So,
Personally, I think it would be a mistake to reconnoiter with Westford. I've seen their board and especially their chairman in operation, and I would like no part of their activity. I think they would take advantage of both Littleton and Groton's boards and keep the best for themselves.
So,
On behalf of myself and what I would recommend to the Groton Housing Authority, I think the most prudent perspective, path forward would be to execute the at-will agreement with the understanding that we're just going to terminate it if we don't want to continue it, while you pursue the questions that are on your list. I mean, I'm not a lawyer and I haven't done this either before, so I can't tell you that there isn't a fatal mistake in my thinking, but it seems to me that if we don't get something in front of the EOHLC for both of us, both housing authorities, we're gonna have a major disaster on February 1st.
Right. We gotta
And
get
if we don't have Lisa started before that, or somebody, we don't have an interim director or someone acting as interim director before that, we may, if we do anything other than continue with Westford, which there are lots of questions about, is that a sensible thing to do or not? I mean, we have opinions and some people believe that would be a disaster. We don't have enough. But anyway, if we don't continue with Westford, we have serious problems gaining staff and dealing with the problems that Lisa's saying she needs time, or an interim director needs time to deal with before February 1st in order to offer smooth, continuous service.
Right.
So the only way I can see doing that for Groton, and as Dan expressed, Groton is following, I mean, we're we're too small to afford to do this on our own. We've got to partner with somebody else. We think you guys and us could get by
Yeah.
if it makes sense to both of us. Right now, in order for it to make sense, we gotta have somebody on board by the first of February, or we've gotta go back to Littleton and accept whatever they do.
Right.
So that's the fundamental question. I think getting started with a contract tonight gets it going so that we find out whether or not we can get somebody on board by January 13th. And try and answer the questions about, do we want to abrogate that and restore? Is Littleton going to make us an interesting enough offer to say, oh, well, we really don't want to get our own director, our own independent situation from Westwood? We'll go back to them.
John,
Yes,
do you want to entertain a motion?
we're watching their proceedings. I'm merely volunteering.
We are two separate bodies at one table.
Okay, you tell me what the protocol
You
is.
definitely, this is a joint meeting. If you'd like to make a motion for the.
Well, I thought you guys were debating your motion, and that's why I was merely offering my opinion for how I would express my opinion when it was our question as input to your consideration. Sorry.
There isn't a motion on the board, is there at the moment?
No, not right now.
Not right now.
Okay,
So
so
I would add that Lisa, if she started now, would have a lot to do of hiring a whole staff to work with her and for you. If we go with Westford, we have a contract in place. He has maintenance people that we know working for him. I don't think Ken owes the board in Westford anything. I think that he's was called in by the state because he's a competent and impartial fixer. And everybody's going to get a new director eventually. I think that having a seamless transition, I mean, I don't know what the paperwork would be to get him, in charge here, but he has forces that know this project, that know this site in place, that are people that are used to coming here. So in that sense, it would be a seamless and easy transition.
It's temporary.
So is Lisa's, like. if we
Oh, I know, I
decide-
understand that. It's- Whatever we decide, it's temporary.
Right. I don't know, the comment about it being an at-will and the short time scale we have in order to get something up and running does make me less inclined to wait tonight. But, to your point, Lisa, you would have to set up everything before February 1st. If we went with Westford, as you mentioned, we have maintenance agreement. We have, director who can do that work. Excuse me. It seems less daunting than you essentially starting from scratch, like with 3 weeks to do it.
you also have a question about what is she going to be allowed to do? I mean, what are you going to allow her to do in terms of commitments to employees? If she's staffing up, you can't, they're not, I mean, at some level, they're working it well, but you're increasing all I'm saying is tonight, deciding that you want to sign the contract and get it in front of the state is step one. One of the steps. Answering these other questions is another set of steps. Starting to actually make offers and let them be accepted for staffing means, okay, are we gonna explain to them that, you might, we want you to start on February 1st, unless we decide to do something else, will you accept that offer? I mean, I don't know how to deal with it. That's another question that is inherent in this kind of approach. It's a messy, nasty situation that we're all wiggling and squirming and trying to figure the best, smoothest way out with the least amount of pain to the most amount of people. And not the least of whom are all of our tenants. That ultimately, they're the purpose we exist for, so.
Yeah.
That's our purpose, our.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
Dr.
on my
Chairman,
side, yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we hire Lisa Larrabee as our interim director starting on January 13th at a pay scale of $40 per hour.
Do I hear a second on that motion?
I will second, I would amend the motion, excuse, I'd like to amend the motion.
You have the second.
First second,
I'll
and then
second the
amend.
motion, yes,
So we can amend
No,
it.
so we second and amend, so
yes.
let's all vote aye,
No,
okay?
I want
No,
to
he-
amend the
under
motion.
discussion.
before
Under
we vote
discussion,
on it,
then he got it
please.
right, okay, go ahead. Make an
I'd like to
amendment.
strike the word hire, and I would like to just make it sign the contract to hire
Mhm.
upon approval of E EOHLC.
Wouldn't it be better to send that thing
I
to
mean,
Boston?
Hang on,
Excuse me, we have to debate this.
sorry, now it's a Groton Housing Authority meeting, and now you have to listen, so,
Okay.
but,
So,
again, I'm not a lawyer, I haven't done this before.
It's okay, John.
I don't know the
There are
back-
lawyers out there, so.
Well, and we'll hear from
We'll
them,
hear from them.
but so I'm just trying to iron out what we're deciding right now. I'm suggesting, and I'm willing and ready to support for a motion to sign the agreement, sign the contract, contract to hire, and submit it to E EOHLC. That's the wording I would.
What are we voting on? Now,
On the motion to sign the contract to hire Lisa as interim director for our housing authority with
effective January 13th.
effective January 13th. And I'm only changing the word hire to sign the contract to hire. Thank you. That's the motion. The amendment I'm putting on the floor. If there's a second, we can vote on that, and then we can vote on the motion. Otherwise, the amendment dies without a second.
I will second the motion to amend.
Or you can accept it as the original.
I will,
okay, so all in favor of the amendment, signify by saying aye, is
If
that
the
correct?
mover accepts the
Yeah.
amendment, we don't need to vote on it.
Oh, okay.
So the
all right,
mover has accepted the amendment.
Okay,
It is now the motion on the floor.
Yeah, the motion on the floor.
Are moving, it has been moved and seconded that we sign the agreement to hire Lisa Larrabee as our interim executive director, starting on January 13th, or January 13th, for 3 months, at the rate stated of $30 an hour rate. And, and submit that contract to the EOHLC. That's all we're doing.
But what about,
Wait,
So-
you know,
okay, so-
this is rotten.
so all in favor, signify by saying aye. All signify by saying aye, let the record show, it was passed.
So now, we were sitting back expecting to just follow you.
We have
We
to
jumped
move.
in front of you and
Sorry about
decided, this is what we're gonna do. You guys get to decide what you want. to do.
but we gotta send that thing piece of paper there.
My
the state.
biggest concern is the fact that there is no budget, and it's costing us. And it's already, what, 10 months late or something like that? And is this something Ken would be able to do? I would assume so, he's a state fixer. And would he be able to help us with the next fiscal year as well, which is due soon?
So the budget has already been approved by the board.
There is a bulk budget.
That was approved January or February of 24,
But not submitted.
but not submitted. And I don't know, there's a certification process. I don't know what that
Yeah,
is. I
there
don't know
is.
if that was
So it
done.
was submitted, okay, well, that's good to know.
Well, we don't know, I mean, Lisa, tell us what, the email I've seen says the materials needed to make the submission are on some laptop, which is in the possession of Westford and not available to us.
Yep.
And so we don't, I mean, we're being held hostage, I think. I mean, again, I don't know all the details, but I don't think you need Ken or anybody else to draft you a budget and submit it. I mean, I know Groton does not, we have seen a draft of our proposed budget. I think we approved it and accepted it and expected it was gonna be submitted properly. I assume you have to check your own records that a similar process occurred here in Littleton back when it was all on an expected timeline, but it failed to be completed due to the disruptions that have occurred in the executive director's office,
Thank you for that
as
clarification.
I understand it.
Do you need that computer, that laptop to submit the budget?
And has any
We might be
progress
able to
been
use
made?
Mandy's. We might be able to use Mandy's.
So Mandy, you have that data, you have that information, you guys could proceed with that?
I think you know where to get it.
What?
You know where to get the, you know how to get the budget and everything that we can submit as night.
Well, I
It's
know
on a
where it
computer
is.
that we
I know
don't
where
have
it
the
is.
possession of.
If it wasn't moved from the desk.
Yeah, we're gonna try to find it.
So if you guys can locate that, submit it, that would be a great step forward. Certainly needs EOL tonight, she's concerns, because I know that was one of the number one issues, was the fact that budgets hadn't been submitted, so if we can move on that, that would be fantastic. Step forward. Ease a lot of stress of that side of things.
So I guess I'm struggling to understand why it wasn't submitted. If we approved it in January, almost a year ago. Why, I mean, and it's been on the laptop ever since then. Have you not had access to that laptop at all?
No,
for a
it's
whole
not,
year?
it's not on a laptop. It's
Okay.
paperwork that you signed here
Mhm.
and I left it here on my desk and I was only allowed to come here on meeting nights and the day of the meeting, so I was busy getting our paperwork ready for the meeting and making meeting packets and all of that. So I never got to submit it. And I know it sounds crazy, but that's the truth. My priorities in Westford were town work first, EOHLC work for Westford second, and then if I had time, I could do Littleton and Groton work.
What does town work mean?
So the Westford Housing Authority has a contract with the town of Westford where they do all things affordable housing. So there are, there are a couple of programs that, they monitor, all of the affordable housing in the town. So anytime, if it's a rental project, they come to you with the paperwork and financials for the person who wants to rent the apartment. You have to go over them and make sure that they're eligible for the program. There's also, two programs that they use for helping people with rent. And then, all things affordable come with this, sales of, affordable units as well. And, also people refinancing and all of that.
Right.
It's a great deal of work.
Yes.
And that's what they had expected first. On top of that, having to go to different meetings to take meeting minutes that had anything to do with affordable housing.
Right.
So,
And that was a mandate.
yes, I was,
So
When was the one day a month rule imposed?
Nancy Cook came and sat here at this table and talked to this board and this board agreed to it.
When?
Do you remember when that was?
I don't
I
remember.
don't know. I have to look back in our minutes.
Or what, be in the board minutes.
They are in the board minutes.
Whatever board meetings Nancy Cook attended,
was it at this board meeting?
Mhm.
that's what she's saying.
Yeah, she came to all two boards, Westford. Well, I don't think you were on
I
the board
told
that
them we
one.
were coming to.
Was it last year? It was
Yeah.
sometime last year? Was it the
No,
last
it
12
was
months?
2 years
I
ago.
I don't remember.
About 2 years
Not to
ago.
ours, that was Jerry's bill.
Yeah, maybe 2.5 years ago, yeah.
Makes sense.
So I don't have any recollection of that meeting or hearing a thing. And I would also say the contract states that you are here 12 hours a week. I don't know why this board didn't hear, not only were you not being allocated the resources that we're paying for, which we should have known about, but we also should have known that our budget was not submitted as it should have been. Like that's that's one of the few things that we are responsible for. And I had no idea. I mean, I had no information that any of those things were going wrong.
Until 2 weeks ago when
Until, yeah,
EOLC,
2 or 3 weeks ago.
EOHLC notified.
At one of our meetings a few weeks ago, there was, I don't know, sometime this fall, was when you told us that Westford was only letting you come 1 day a week, and we were all shocked. So, I mean, if we do stick with the consortium, we have to have some programs,
Mhm.
if we can do that. Yeah. But that's not a decision to make now.
So I have a number of questions about that meeting with Nancy, which I don't recall.
Mhm.
About, the budget submission and why it hasn't been submitted. And I want to get answers to those before we go forward with a contract. So I think, Bartlett and I can reach out to EOHLC and Ken and potentially the Westford Board and ask for some explanations of that. And we can do it tomorrow and we can, perhaps get another meeting, book another meeting for the end of this week. We can do it via Zoom, so it can be low impact. And if we decide that that it does make sense to hire Lisa, we could submit it to EOHLC with the 13th as the date. I'm just not ready to do it tonight, I guess, because I still have too many questions about what's going on. I don't have enough information. I'm getting I'm getting two very different stories from the parties, and it's making me feel very uneasy about making any decisions right now.
It's fine, we have to do the right thing.
Okay.
But I know what happened to me, and I have a witness to everything that has happened to me.
Okay.
So,
So I need to go back through the minutes of the Westford and find the discussions about getting rid of Littleton. I need to go back through the minutes of Littleton and find where it was stated that, you were going down to 1 day a month. From 1 day a week, or one day a month, yeah. I do not recall that ever happening, and so it could have been the one I missed, but it was in the last 2 years, you'd say. Okay. So I would propose that we wait. We can schedule another meeting for later this week or Monday. And we try to get if we do have some resolution of these questions, we vote as quickly as possible and we pressure EOHLC to approve the contract. So that Lisa doesn't get stuck in a position where she doesn't have time to do what she needs to do.
Yep, that's not fair to Lisa.
Is that a motion?
Well, I don't know, but it's kind of a non-motion. The motion is that we don't vote on
That we just delay.
We just,
signing
yeah.
Until we have more
we
information.
table that motion, we table the vote
We table the vote on that.
on the
Okay.
contract for now.
In the meantime, Groton has enumerated its position and we stand on that.
Very good.
Okay,
And on the Groton side, the only thing we need to do is approve, the motion to approve the minutes as provided.
Motion
You
from
got
the
cop-
last meeting.
Yes,
Where we
Right.
said that we intended to.
Right. yes, the moves, that last
So
meeting.
that compact can be submitted.
You got a copy of that? You guys approve it? A motion to approve?
Yes, we saw it.
Okay.
I move that we approve the minutes.
No, those are Littleton.
The Groton Housing Authority
Not the
minutes,
Littleton, sorry.
the meeting of the Groton Housing Authority on December 17th. The minutes from that meeting
I don't have them.
as submitted by the chair.
That was wrong.
Yeah, this one says Groton.
You got the Groton ones.
I'll second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
But
Motion passes unanimously.
the significant entry in those minutes is Don made a motion to offer the contract to Lisa. Leslie seconded the motion in a roll call vote. Don, Leslie, and Dan voted aye, and John abstained.
That's the body of
The
it.
reasons that you're abstaining tonight.
okay.
That's where we stand tonight. And, you still have questions.
Very good.
Good? No objection? Okay.
Are we finished with our discussion?
We are, I believe we are finished with that discussion.
Okay,
And there's nothing else on the agenda to discuss for the board.
so I need a formal motion to table this until our next meeting.
I move that we table this decision on hiring Lisa until our next meeting at a time certain to be determined soon. In the next.
As soon as possible, right.
Second.
Okay, motion been made and seconded.
Second,
Okay. Roll call vote
In favor?
In favor?
in favor?
In favor.
favor.
In favor, passes unanimously.
I'll entertain a motion for Groton Housing Authority to adjourn.
I object.
Yes,
I'd
okay,
like to make a motion before that motion
Okay.
accepted on the floor.
okay.
I'd like to move the Groton Housing Authority scheduled its next meeting the same day as the Littleton Housing Authority's upcoming meeting so that we can actively participate in, or at least be fully aware of their decisions. That's in the motion.
In live session?
Whatever way they're having their meeting, I don't care.
I
I'll
believe
be
Zoom,
there.
Zoom would be easier, but we can
If it's
discuss.
Zoom, that certainly would be easier. So I want to make the motion and we take a position on it. You guys can overrule me. I just want that on the record that the motion was made.
Okay.
Always expect.
Do I hear a second on the motion?
Knowing the success we had with the last meeting, I would like to amend to say live session,
Pardon?
He's suggesting that we,
meet in live session.
And live session.
with Littleton. I
Okay.
If possible.
I want to just join the meeting however they want it, but I don't object to it. Well, I don't know how we can do that if they decide to have a Zoom meeting. That's my objection.
We will make every effort to have a live session, depending on availability of the board members.
So I would not support the amendment, not accept it without a vote. You can vote it in, but I would say we attend the meeting as they schedule it. We've advised them that we prefer a live meeting. They've agreed to consider that. It's their decision. It's their meeting. We don't really have anything to do except stay informed and keep up with what they're doing.
Do I hear, so are you taking that as a motion? That's a motion.
That's
okay.
my motion.
That's your
There's
motion.
an motion,
Right.
there's an amendment on the floor.
Right?
As a second for the amendment. I'll put it in writing as soon as we decide what we're doing. Is there a second for the amendment?
Yes, do we have a second?
The only person who can make a second is you, Dan, because
Oh,
I'm not. the
Okay, all right,
amendment. I'm not
I second the motion, then.
Now you can vote.
How do I have a vote? Do I hear a roll call?
In favor?
John,
Opposed.
Emerson, opposed.
Okay, so now we're back to voting on the amendment, which just says we schedule our meeting the same day as their. meeting.
Okay, I'll take, move
So
on,
we schedule our meeting jointly with them.
second the motion,
In favor.
all right?
Aye,
All in favor, signify by saying aye, so motion passes.
thank you.
Now, do you want to adjourn?
Yes,
Now I'm willing to entertain a motion to adjourn.
do I hear to entertain a motion to adjourn?
I move
So
that we
moved.
adjourn.
So moved, all in favor, signify by saying aye, roll call, all voting,
I believe we are.
thank you.
Okay, is there, anybody in the audience that would like to speak to the boards?
Most definitely speak to the board. My name is Lori Hayes. This is my mother, Nancy Mariani. She has been a resident here for around 20 years. One of the things that I want to say to everyone here is these are a lot of tough decisions that you're facing. We understand that. However, definitely the Littleton board, I don't have anything to say to Groton other than I understand that you have your own agenda and that you would very much like to be partnered with Littleton. However, I think, you need to let Littleton make their own decision. You're definitely here to represent the residents. I don't know how often you have this many residents attend your meetings, but there is a reason they're here. And I think they've made some of that clear. I won't go over all of that. I'll let Bartlett fill you in if he has not already, regarding what the residents feel. They're certainly concerned about some of the building maintenance issues, some of the safety hazards. Some people have had issues with not having their heat. We have lighting problems, things that did not just happen in the last year. Some of this stuff's been going on for years. Okay, and one of the issues with having the current director come, or the former director come back, was a lot of gatekeeping. They were told they could not attend meetings, they could not speak to the board. What they had a procedure they were given, which was a couple of weeks before the meeting, submit questions to the director. a week later, come back, find out if the director felt their questions were relevant that they could bring to the board, which most often they were told not. And they were made to feel that they could not contact you and let you know when there were problems. You know, I'm not saying that they're gonna be on top of you for every little thing, but we can't let stuff go so long before they come to you. And this is what I call gatekeeping, and I feel that that has been a real issue with the former, management. You've come up with an interesting idea, using the state fixer. I think that might be a very interesting thing to explore. I'm glad that you're going to look at that. And I hope that, you're able to find a new director soon enough. But, interim, they've gone a whole year with hardly anyone representing them. And, couple of months with an intern might not be so bad. I'm not sure if you're aware of the fact that some of the heat has been out in some of the units. I mean, it's winter, it's freezing, and sometimes they're going a full day without having it fixed. There's been resident conflicts that have wound up in court over things that are rules that you've already put in place and just required someone to be willing to step up and say, hey, this is what has to be done. I think you need to find a director who can handle those type of confrontations so that you can keep things smooth and, not have these issues happening all the time. I hope that, as you're discussing some of these things, I hope that your next meeting is not Zoom, because that makes it very hard for the residents to attend. So I do understand that it's convenient for boards nowadays, but it makes it very difficult for, you're here for seniors, not for, the millennials who have no issue being on their phones and paying attention. So, it would be helpful if it was a live meeting. It might be also helpful to, you, Gino, are the representative of the people here. Is that why you sit on the board? So I know you have some very strong feelings of your own, but I think you also need to consider all the people who live here and maybe talk with some of them and find out what their feelings are so that you can represent
You
them.
should do when we have a meeting, you just come and we let you speak.
Well,
Okay.
that doesn't happen.
Usually we leave any individual, let them speak for 5 minutes.
Mhm.
Okay, stop right there. When we have another meeting, you can come. A little by little. Now we are in a situation that we have to be patient, okay? Okay.
I don't think that's appropriate. I
Thank
think
you.
she should be allowed to speak.
Nothing is appropriate when I say something. The question is, sometimes we let people speak too much. And then they should come when we have a meeting, very simple. And the chairman will not deny it. They will say, okay, then we'll speak to the director and then she will do the best she can to get, she's not gonna go to the apartment, make sure that the apartment is hot.
No.
See?
It's fine. Gino, I am here and I am speaking,
Okay.
okay? It's your turn to listen. Now, that said, Groton, I also understand that you're in a tough spot and you really do need Littleton. However, next time, maybe let Littleton have their discussion. I mean, you had an awful lot to say. And it is really, coming from your need. So let's hear what, I would like to have heard more from the Littleton board in their discussion. So, we all need to focus. You guys have a plan now. Right? And I'm sure that Lisa will take care of you. Now let them make their plan. If you wish to listen, great. Some questions, I will save for another time. However, when there are meeting minutes, one of the things that came up was that they seem to be slow to get into the book. So we okayed the meeting minutes for December 17th. And just wondering how long does it usually take before they can read them?
So Lisa usually submitted them. It goes through the town clerk in Littleton, and then they're posted to the website. In my experience, if I submit minutes for a meeting, they're usually up on the website within a day or two.
Wow, okay.
Like,
Without,
but,
without being approved yet?
after they're approved.
After that?
Yeah, but, so you have to wait till the next meeting for them to be approved. It also sometimes, for long meetings, it's quite difficult and very time consuming to generate the minutes.
So you would think that within a few days, these meetings, the minutes that you approved for December 17th would probably be available?
Within a few days of the next meeting, within a few days of the minutes being approved, they should be submitted and available on the
He's
Littleton
asking
website.
about the December
December
17th.
But that's Groton that approved their minutes.
No, we-
So they approved them
We
at the
approved
beginning.
one too.
At the beginning, they approved.
So I don't know who is submitting them now.
Well, it should be available.
I don't know who is submitting them now, now that Lisa is no longer taking the minutes and acting as the clerk essentially for this board.
Mhm.
But whoever is submitting them, now that they're approved, it should only take a few days, once they get to the town clerk, for them to be put on the website.
I think the lady is asking,
Curious.
who's gonna?
I think their book hasn't been updated since, what was it, 2022 or something?
Well, so there are a lot more on the town website. I don't know that, I didn't even know that we were doing this. I didn't see this,
Oh, I
that
see.
book until a few weeks ago, so, or
It's
a
not
few
up to
meetings
date,
ago.
I looked at it.
Yeah, no, I know that,
Yeah,
but there
okay.
should be a lot more on the town website.
Okay.
Well, it's not.
I'll check it out. There should be there.
I looked and I didn't see it, but
Okay.
I'm kind of medium tech, so it could have been there and I wouldn't see it.
So what actually will happen? Everybody seems very worried about the February 1st date. And I mean, is the state gonna show up and take over?
No, no,
What
that's
actually will
that's the
happen?
date when our agreement with Westford expires.
Oh, I see.
So at that point, we need to have something else in place, whether it's a continuation of a Westford agreement or Lisa and some minions taking care
And
of
the
this.
team that she assembles.
However, if you do go with the state's fixer, Ken, he already has these resources available.
He has the crew that's been working on the three authorities for however long. And he has the ability to get more in the form of assistance or, I mean, his understanding of a management agreement is that there's a person in each of the three offices full-time. And he's in charge, but there's a person in the other two offices that is being there and
Since Groton will no longer be part of that contract, he'll only have to deal with the two places.
right, just the two places.
So that would probably have more resources for Littleton,
Yes.
so something to consider. All right, I will leave it at that. I will simply say that I hope that the board gets to see some of the letters that the residents have written. It's not that easy for them to print everything out and whatever. They really went out of their way to bring this to you. Clearly, they do feel that, they were not happy with status quo, and they're hoping that you'll be able to find something new for them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else wish to speak? All right,
Move that we adjourn a meeting of the Littleton Housing Authority.
Second,
okay, move,
appreciate
motion made, seconded to move.
second,
Any second? Are you in favor?
I'm in favor.
Yes, yes, yes. Motion passes. Meeting is adjourned.